Hey, well, hello. I'm here with Chris Richardson, one of my inspirational microservices guys in the world, and I have some questions for him, and especially for my colleagues within the Netherlands of SynTouch. So, Chris, there's a lot of hype around the microservice. So, what is, in your opinion, a microservice?
Oh.
I mean, there are a lot of different there are a lot of different definitions for it. So, go on.
Yeah.
Add yours.
You know, that is an interesting question. You should go look at my talk. There's no such thing as a microservice. Because actually, and what I mean by that is, so there is something called the microservice architecture, which you could say microservices. I'm going to use microservices as a short way of saying I'm going to use the microservice architecture. So then that does get into the issue, does it really mean anything for it to be singular, a microservice? But the microservice architecture, that's an architectural style that decomposes a system into a set of loosely coupled services that are oriented around business capabilities. And independently deployable.
Okay.
So that's kind of the definition in a nutshell. So the services are loosely coupled, which means, among other things, they communicate only via APIs. There's no sharing at the database level. So that's kind of a key characteristic. And then then the other sort of element is, well, I think business capability, or some business function, should we say. And then the other aspect of it is you could say, well, okay, what does that mean about size?
Yeah, that's another question we also have. So maybe we can go dig into the next question I have. So
let me answer it as part of this one, because for me, I mentioned this during my talk, and it's sort of like the whole goal of the microservice architecture is to enable you to do, should we say, continuous deployment, DevOps of large complex applications. And I think what that boils down to is having an architecture where each team has owns one or more services. And I think the essential characteristic of a service, as well as being loosely coupled and so on, is that it enables a team to, basically practice DevOps, which means that the lead time, the time from someone committing a change to that service to that change being in production is, say, under an hour.
Yeah.
And so that obviously has some implications around the size and complexity of the service, because if you have a service that takes a day to run the test suite, that's probably too big. But it's sort of whatever the size is really the requirement that it should be capable of being developed by a small team with minimal lead time and high deployment frequency.
Okay, so I read about, that's the next question, a good bridge, but how do you decompose a large system? I've read about, you said it already, business capabilities, design-driven design, but are there differences between them, or what's the business capability?
Yeah.
As you said in your talk, I have a customer service, I have order service, and I followed another session, and a business capability should not be modeling business entities. That's not business capability. So how do you see that?
Yeah. Well, I know there's an interesting issue.
That's the CRUD things on entities. I mean, that's not the way to go, I think, for decomposing. So how do you see it?
Yeah. So there's, in a sense, there's two schools of thought, which kind of, I think, ultimately, more or less end up with the same result, more or less. So one is business capability, and so that's a term from business architecture, which is an entirely separate domain, right? So you can go hire business architects that will create a model of your business, and which is primarily comprised of business processes, and each step of a business process invokes a business capability. Actually, a business capability might be implementable by another sub-process as well. But it's sort of like something a business does in order to deliver value. And it's more focused on kind of the what as opposed to the how. So like, for instance, banks have always had the capability to deposit checks, right? So you could imagine there's a deposit check capability which perhaps turns into a service, even though the manner in which you deposit a check varies over the years, right? From giving it to a physical teller to today taking a picture with your phone. So that's one school of thought. So you just figure out what your business capability, what your business capabilities are, and map those sort of one-to-one to a service architecture.
Okay.
And but interestingly, in some cases, it might turn out that if you look at a lot of capabilities, they often are centered around a particular business object.
Yes.
Which is not actually the same as CRUD. It might superficially seem CRUD-like, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about like accounts receivables, that's all about, kind of like taking managed invoices and accounts payable, accounts payable, the other way around. Accounts payables is all about dealing with invoices from your vendors, so it's sort of like there's this central object is an invoice, and then the other flip side, payables is all about bills and stuff like that, right? And so on. So it's sort of like, superficially the decomposition might look like there's like these noun-based services, but you're not just sort of doing simple CRUD on them, you are doing high-level operations, right?
Yeah. Okay, there's also a lot of discussions going on. You have to look at the time.
Oh yeah.
About the difference between what's in your opinion the big difference between a service-oriented architecture and a microservice architecture?
Yeah, I mean, I think at an incredibly high level, it's all about decomposing a system into services.
Strong cohesion, loose context.
Yeah. Which actually is basically modularity. I mean, there's that underlying component, except that the modules are these independently deployable, executable services.
But that was the same in SOA.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do it right.
At a high level, yeah, but today what does SOA mean? It means use an ESB, right?
So we just launched another term, and to do it right this time.
Well, at some level, I mean, so for instance, I think what SOA has evolved into is monolithic applications communicating via an ESB using heavyweight protocols, and probably sharing databases at the same time, right? Whereas, even though the original premise was really services, right? And then it's microservices, so it's sort of these lighter weight services communicating only via APIs and directly rather than via some ESB using, in general, lighter weight protocols.
Okay.
But it's sort of this whole, the totality of it, or maybe even the motivation, right? Like we go back to the microservice architectures to enable DevOps for large complex applications by breaking it apart into these services that can be delivered frequently. Yeah. That's not what I just said there, is not how you would sell me on SOA, right?
No.
It's like, I got this monolith and I need to integrate it with something else.
hey, you have to deal with a hybrid environment as well. I mean, that's also the reality, of course. If you have a greenfield environment, then okay, you could use microservices, but you don't. So you probably need some.
Well, I would, well, there's two parts to that. I mean, if you have a system whose domain is some highly competitive kind of market where speed is essential, arguably, if you do not break up that system into a set of services, you will not be able to compete in the market.
Yeah. Okay, you're also busy, and that's why I know you already on the internet, of course, with your microservice patterns. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, about the book? When is it coming out?
Oh, yes, it's coming out real soon. Okay. So you can buy the Manning Early Access now, and you get 10 of the 12 chapters.
Okay.
So that's the majority of the book.
It's more diving into the patterns you already described on the internet or on your page.
Well, yeah, roughly. I mean, though it doesn't look, it's not structured like a pattern catalog.
Okay.
But each chapter, in essence, is about a collection of patterns.
Solving a particular design problem.
Yeah. So there's chapters on, well, like one of the chapters is on sagas, right? How to maintain data consistency in a microservice architecture. So that's a whole chapter dedicated to what I talked about today. Yeah. Another chapter is on how do you refactor a monolithic application into a set of services.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, Chris, thank you for the interview. And
you're welcome.
Good luck with the book. And,
thanks.
And
it's another round of revision, and then hopefully I can declare victory.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, we do.